This morning on DC News Now, we're tracking the 90-degree heat out there later on this afternoon. Go with a high of 92 in DC. Thankfully, this heat not sticking around for the weekend. Latest details on those numbers coming up.
Also coming up this morning, serving the damage. A car crashes through a wall of a building in Northeast DC. We are live at the scene.
Transparency has never been a strong point at DC 911. They don't like us to know what's going on inside.
Plus, a DC family still waiting on answers after their loved one died, waiting on 911. Hear from another family who says they experienced something similar in the district.
And later, the first ever Pride event in Fauquier County. How the area is celebrating the start of a new tradition.
The station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
All right, it's 7 o'clock on this Friday morning. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. I'm Corey James.
Good morning. I'm Tanaya Wright. We're going to start you off in a live look outside on this Friday morning. Another kind of a hazy start. Oh, but that is beautiful. It's a hazy start, but it's beautiful out there, Jackie.
Yeah, and that looks like that's the place to be, especially for later on this afternoon, is right there on the water, because temperatures, especially for our coastal communities, will be slightly cooler later on this afternoon than farther inland. Inland will be tracking those highs well into the low 90s. Temperatures, though, out there right now, not quite that warm just yet, but we are gradually starting to warm up. We're now up to 66 in DC. We're right around 60 in Hagerstown, upper 50s, Fredericksburg, 50s, Winchester, Leesburg, low 50s, Martinsburg. Still dealing with a little bit of that fog out there this morning, especially clipping southernmost parts of Maryland, even into our southern zones back over towards Virginia. Right about 5 miles visibility in DC, 7 in Manassas. So we're slowly seeing some improvement, though, for parts of the area. We were watching this cold front that will continue to dive its way southbound. That will be bringing us some relief for the weekend. But out there today, we're tracking the heat as well as the hazy skies out there. But at least we're still tracking mainly sun-filled skies. I have more details coming up. But right now, I'll toss it over to Shanika with the all-important look at the roads. How's traffic?
All right, talk about hazy. We're looking at 50 heading east and westbound right near 410, and you can barely see the roads, but the roads are very clear. You're not seeing much happening in that area, but do watch for delays, though. Your major roadways you're going to start to see most heading inbound, like here in Camp Springs. This is on Branch Avenue right near Allentown Road. Expect some delays. We still have crash activity there, and you're also seeing delays spilling over to Allentown Road as well. Bailout traffic. Looking at the Capitol Beltway overall, topside delays, outer loop stretch right off of 95. That stretch through Silver Spring is very slow. We did have some problems on the inner loop right in College Park. That cleared, so you're all good to go. And the rest of your roadways, DC 295, not even bad, but you're a bit slow heading south.
All right, Shanika, thank you. Time right now is 7:02. Breaking this morning, police are on the scene of a car crash in Northeast DC near the Maryland-DC line.
Officials say a car crashed into the side of that building there. Our Tosin Vakile is live at the scene of the crash. So, Tosin, tell us what we know so far.
Well, I can tell you it is still a very active scene right now. That building is a daycare. That's according to the sign that sits on it. And that car still inside that building. Take a look for yourself right now. This is 356 Eastern Avenue. That car is still in the building. DC Fire and EMS says no injuries reported. But what you're looking at is there's a bumper, what looks like the bumper of the car, sitting outside of that building on the ground a few feet from the car itself. You can see what looks like a suitcase sitting on the ground behind that car. You can see directly right through that building, parts of the building and the wall dangling on the side and from the ceiling. Now, DC Fire and EMS says crews are assessing even further the structural integrity of this building, but I can tell you there's a lot of activity here. Parts of the road here, Eastern Avenue, blocked off. Several people standing around looking at the site right now, and you can only imagine, the sign says it's a child daycare, and thankfully this happened when there were no children or hopefully no workers in the building, but parts of the road blocked off. And another thing people need to know is because of how the road is blocked off and it's attracting several sites, we've seen what looks like a lot of traffic activity, people possibly driving in the wrong direction. So we want to remind people, pay attention if you're in the Eastern Avenue and Dick Street, Northeast DC. Pay attention to the roads because part of it is blocked. But like I said, we are still on the scene of the car into the building. It's a very active scene. We're waiting for an update for police, but we do want to say right now, DC Fire and EMS says they are working with Pepco to secure power to this damaged structure. But for now, we're live in Northeast. I'm Tosin Vakile for DC News Now. We'll have another update for you in about an hour.
All right, thank you, Tosin. Your time right now is 7:04.
Okay, let's take a quick look at your Know and Go headlines this morning. The Senate approved a bill to extend the government's borrowing limit. Now, the bill extends borrowing authority until 2025, stopping a potential default next week. That bill is now heading to President Biden's desk.
And more than 41,000 people have power once again after an outage hit parts of Annapolis yesterday. Officials say it also knocked out traffic lights. City officials say an issue at the Cedar Park substation caused the outage. The electric company says power was restored to almost all homes by about 11 o'clock last night.
And the Trigger Project is hosting its third annual End Gun Violence Citywide Festival today. It is scheduled to start at noon at Freedom Plaza in Northwest D.C. Organizers say the event will have resources and support for gun violence victims.
New this morning, D.C. Fire and EMS reporting a crash involving a dump truck. Now, they say the dump truck overturned at Minnesota and Pennsylvania Avenues in Southeast. Officials say other vehicles were damaged. D.C. Fire requested a hazmat unit because of a spilled fuel there. They say the driver fled the scene. No injuries were reported.
And new this morning, the U.S. Senate approved the debt ceiling deal with just days left before the deadline.
The legislation passed would raise the debt limit and avoid the U.S. going into default. Now the bill heads to the president's desk. The deal passed 63-36 in the Senate. It received support and criticism from leaders on both sides of the aisle. Some say the bill does not do enough to control spending, while others say it cuts too much spending in areas like defense. Included in that bill is the Mountain Valley Pipeline project. West Virginia lawmakers support the pipeline, while Virginia Senator Tim Kaine argues the pipeline should not be part of the deal.
If you put pipeline permitting in the hands of Congress, then people will try to buy Congress off.
I call it the most valuable pipeline that we have to offer energy to the people of America.
The benefits of this are going to be tremendous, both on the energy security side and on the economic side for our state.
The debt ceiling bill moves forward the remaining permits needed for this project. Now the bill is heading to the White House for the president to sign. If he does sign it, it will go into effect on Monday.
And also in the debt ceiling deal, a provision putting an end to the COVID-era student loan payment pause. If the president signs the bill, borrowers will have to start paying back their loans in August. Now, this would be the first time borrowers would have to pay since March of 2020. Back then, the average payment was about $460. The bill also prevents President Biden from issuing another last-second pause with the current one ends. Experts say restarting payments could put a big financial strain on people who already are struggling.
I think it's going to be difficult for a lot of people, and that, along with the other cutbacks, will begin to slow down consumer confidence and consumer spending. And this famous recession that we've been predicting, we've been saying that for 2 years, that may actually come to pass.
Meantime, the Supreme Court is going over President Biden's partial forgiveness plan. And that plan would cancel $10,000 of debt for those making less than $125,000 a year. It would also cancel up to $20,000 for the same people who receive Pell Grants.
The court could rule on that case anytime within the next month, but that has not stopped legislators from trying to stop the plan in Congress. The Senate voted 52-46 yesterday to overturn the president's forgiveness plan. The resolution was approved by the Republican-controlled House last week. The president is expected to veto the legislation. Now, if you do have loans, experts say to start preparing to pay them back now. They say you should wait to make the payments until that freeze ends. You can put that money into a savings account. Experts say talk with a financial advisor and learn your options. Payment plans can help as well. Finally, if you cannot pay it, learn about the possibility of a loan default and how it could affect your credit.
I'm just hurt to my core. I'm ashamed to live in the District of Columbia.
You just heard right there from the brother of Bernard Baker Jr. His brother and the rest of the Baker family say they are still looking for answers following his death in late April.
Yeah, the family says delays at the district's 911 call center and lack of urgency from fire and EMS contributed to his death at the family home in Northwest D.C. Fire and EMS officials say they did nothing wrong. Now, 911 call center officials promised last month to share findings of an internal investigation, but the family says they have not heard anything from them. Another woman says she experienced something similar when EMS sent emergency services to the wrong address when her father needed help.
The lack of accountability, the lack of urgency, it breaks my heart to know that people are still passing, lives are still being lost.
Now, there has been no official comment from the call center on when they will meet with the family. Meantime, Baker's family says they are looking into legal action to find justice for Bernard Jr. And more than 40,000 people now have power again after an outage hit parts of Annapolis yesterday afternoon. Officials say that outage also knocked out traffic lights in Maryland's capital. Now, Baltimore Gas and Electric says the total number of people without power in Anne Arundel County was just over 72,000. They say the earliest outage was reported yesterday after 3 p.m. City officials say an issue at the Cedar Park substation caused the outage. Baltimore Gas and Electric says the power was restored to most homes by 11 o'clock last night. Time right now is 7:10. Some condo owners in Suitland, Maryland say they are dealing with leaks and living with mold.
That is right. People at the Windsor Crossing Apartments on Victory Lane say their condo association is not taking care of the problem. One person says he has mold growing in his apartment after a leak. Another says the leak first started in his dining room, but is now happening in his bedroom. He says he wants the condo association to fix it after the failed attempts in the past.
Water coming in through the air vent. And then after that, it's always been in my bedroom. Replace the roof first and foremost, and from that, take care of the ceiling in my bedroom, make sure that I don't have any mold issues.
We reached out to the condo association and its lawyers, but have not gotten a response back just yet.
All right, well, sites like ChatGPT are blocked in many schools. Artificial intelligence is still being taught in other ways in schools.
That is right. Two Montgomery County public schools say they are introducing AI through a special course. Officials say the course continues to expand. Teachers at Montgomery Blair High School in Silver Spring say the demand for the class has grown since platforms like ChatGPT hit the internet. One teacher says she thinks artificial intelligence will soon bring sweeping changes to our everyday lives.
I actually think we're on the verge of some big changes. I tell my students, make a note of this, because I think that the way you learn and the way a lot of people do business is going to change very soon.
That teacher says there are concerns about AI, like some platforms do not always provide sources for information.